Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Cafe Enchante. I was like, what are we playing? Like, every other game that we've ever played in the history of this channel was like, went through my mind. Wow. Anyway, and Ignis is about to kill all the fucking Minotaurs, or is killing them right now, and we're back to our perspective, and she's probably gonna go after him. No, don't do it! But, whatever. Anyway. Il managed to dodge the Minotaur's swinging arms, one after the other. We flew out of the cave as I hugged Kororo tighter against me, and we were lifted into the cold Beastian sky. We've escaped with our lives. Just as Il squinted his eyes, we heard flames erupt in the distance. To neither of our surprise, we glanced over in the direction of the sound. Right beneath us, the Firewolf's stronghold glowed a faint shade of crimson. Don't tell me... Was it? And the stronghold is under attack. I'm afraid that Ignis, too, is there. Il, we have to go there to... Unfortunately, I cannot grant that request. I haven't much strength left, certainly not enough to protect you. We must head directly to the Enchante gate and evacuate. Il's smart. But Ignis! He'll be all right. With his strength, it's unlikely he'll come under any harm, so... Il's eyes shot open. We felt an intense ray of heat, one that could normally occur in such a frozen world, coming from below. Il let out a sharp gasp, shifting his weight mid-flight to avoid it, but his trembling wings were slow to react. Oh no, poor Il. A giant storm of flames surrounded us. Il! Il's wings were exposed and burnt by the raging flames exploding below. Oh no! I heard Il cry out in agony before my vision became suddenly blurry. We dropped into the flaming maelstrom, down into the Firewolf stronghold. Well, yeah, because she's got to see, Ignis going crazy, and she's got to be the one to bring him back to his sanity. A small distance away, Kororo laid there, passed out. We fell from quite a height, but somehow both Kororo and I survived the fall. Luckily, neither of us were seriously hurt. Il, on the other hand. I spotted Il lying unconscious beside me. It seemed as though his quick reaction was more than enough to spare us our lives, for which I felt immense gratitude. Forgive me. Are you hurt at all? I'm all right, but Il, you're... This is nothing to worry about. I will recover once we return to the human world. And more importantly, what's going on here? At Il's prompting, I surveyed around us. Judging by our immediate surroundings, we landed within the Firewolf stronghold. However, the horror began to set in as I recognized no part of the secluded, humble stronghold in the chaos. It was a massacre, a force that left no stone unturned, all-consuming and deadly. The dramatic pipe organ music. Da-da! Da-da! It's just so funny because I can't hear pipe organ music without being like this kind of music without being fucking vampires. Oh. We getting a CG of Ignis in all his glory. I mean, you can't see it now. You can sort of see it, but not really. But a flaming tempest that ate all in its path. Whoa. I watched as red sparks bounced off of armor, swallowed by snow. The white wonderland was painted with colors of a grisly, brutal nature. Oh my god. They're so teasing this! A hot wind, fanned by the flames, carried with them a strong stench of iron, the scent of which wafted from the trampled corpses lining the snow. At the center of it all was... Oh my god! He looks like a vampire. This is terrifying. The curt, heavy-handed, but most of all, kind Ignis. He and his aura shone a brilliant red. Wow. This is the bad ending CG. I mean, we don't get a CG in the bad ending, but I mean, after we do the bad ending, this is the CG we're gonna have to stare at, because it is disturbing. It was as if he was bathed in the blood of his foes. He is. But how could that be? Relative to his ghastly appearance, there weren't too many corpses. What happened to all the others? Where did the blood come from? Oh my god, he ate them. He really did. Little by little, I urged my trembling self onward to look further up. His hand dripping in blood and he's licking. Oh my god. The answer was right there. His mouth. Thick, viscous trails of blood dripped from the corners of his lips. He's like as close to a vampire as we're gonna get, but like in this game. You know what I mean? But it's kind of like, I mean, we can't be like, oh, gross. No, it's like, this is kind of what you sign up for if you want a vampire, you know, vampire boyfriends, which we don't have because they won't translate diabolic lovers and like whatever. But like, this is basically when we'd sign up for this kind of shit. So I mean, okay, it's a thing. All right. When I looked closer, it looked as though he bit into something in his mouth. And after chewing a couple times, he gulped it down. This is disturbing. But you gotta love it. Like, I love it that they included it. It wasn't like, oh no, he's all fluffy and he never gets like, oh no, he killed some people and he fucking ate them. Oh my god. Holy shit. Wow. Bravo, game. Bravo for doing this and going this far. Damn. Without having to think, my instincts told me exactly what I was looking at. Choked with fear, I could hardly muster a loud scream. Oh my god, it's coming after us next, shut up. But he managed to pick up on what little sound I did make. After subtly twitching his nose, as if in reaction to my scent, his dreamy eyes darted over to me, a sharp, focused glance. He eyed me with a predatory gaze. Like I was a delicious meal. Just as Ignis took a step forward, ready to lunge at me, the surrounding snow around him melted and evaporated, as if devoured by him. Ah! I gasped out of panic, and his body burst into flame. Spacey, stand back! Il stepped in front of me, but he had already used up all of his strength and was at his body's limit. We're gonna die together, Il. It's okay. This is not what I meant when I told you to eat me. Don't take it literally. He stood in front of me. He stood in front of the menacing wolf who had marched up to us without fear. I mean, why would he be afraid? Have you seen the teeth on... Can you see the teeth on him? Like, hello? We're the ones that should be afraid. The wolf laughed savagely. Ah! He dug his claws into his defenseless prey. I just didn't actually think he'd hurt Il like this. Splashes of red dispersed through the air. Il's slender body was shredded and eviscerated by the frightening inferno. Woo! What? Are we in the bad ending? His angelic body dropped, face down into his own pool of blood. I mean, I can understand if maybe he's been injured, but it's just really eviscerated sounds a little bit something like even an angel isn't going to be able to manage to come back from. I'm just saying. That's a little extreme. Blood soaked his body and drenched the clothing around his inanimate self. I'm literally like clutching my hoodie. I'm going to end up choking myself. How like, tightly. I'm like... He fell atop the crumpled remains of his black and white feathers. There was no hint of color or familiar in Ignis's eyes as the wolf looked coldly at his comrade. I couldn't even scream. Alas, I was falling apart. I was ready to collapse. Reality was too intense to face. This should have all been in chapter 4? Because this would have been like, the bad ending is like, he actually kills everyone, and then they're like, Ignis, you killed Il and Spacey. Like, buddy. Like, you know what I mean? This would have been the perfect, like, point for a bad ending, but we're still in chapter 3, so, like... I wanted nothing more than to cook for us. My teeny tiny dream. The small fantasy I had for the two of us. Ignis reached his hand over Il, who laid there collapsed in his blood. Ignis wrapped his fingers around the angel's neck, lifting him up with ease. He's still making noise, so he ain't dead yet. Then, he opened his mouth wide. He slowly pulled Il's unconscious body toward his gaping maw. It was easy to predict what he was going to do next. The fuck? This is so intense. I climbed to the top of Bestia, hoping one day I could change it. If I could become the greatest fighter without shedding any blood, I thought that maybe one day it would inspire some beasts out there. No! Please don't do this! Stop! Don't throw away who you are. I can't scream stop really loud because people will think I'm in attack, so me. Don't throw away who you are! Don't abandon your dream! Just before Ignis sank his fangs into Il's flesh, he tossed the angel aside. I felt compelled to protect Il, and I stood before Ignis with my arms outstretched. Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Come back, Ignis! This is not you! This isn't why you trained your entire life, is it? I cried out at Ignis, trying to appeal to him with the first words that came to mind. But all my pleading could accomplish was redirecting the firewolf's ire toward me instead. Interrupted by a severe, throbbing pain, Ignis sank his razor-sharp fangs into my arm. This is so good. I can't, my head, neck is my shoulders are so tense. This is gonna hurt me so bad later, because I am, tight in a ball. My muscles are all clenched. My neck hurts like shit right now. The back of my neck, that neck and shoulder blade area. But I realized in a moment too late, as my own blood splattered onto his face. Adrenaline numbed the pain, but my head spun. The only thing rooting me to my current predicament was the dreadful sound of my flesh being ripped apart. Ignis, stop! My pleading voice never reached him. Ignis only sipped and licked the blood trickling down my arm and... Ah! He ripped a piece of the flesh off of me. But he's tasted our blood before. You think it would make him stop. You know what I mean? That would have been a good, We're still in a chapter 4! What the fuck? But you really think that it would have been he tasted and wait, I remember this I mean, he's crazy, but that would have been the brings him back to his senses type of a thing. Happy ever after, but no. This is, wow. Wow. Anyway. After neutralizing the Minotaurs, we hurried toward the Firewolf stronghold. What Miser and the rest of the party witnessed was... we? Who's we? Who am I supposed to be? Far-reaching patches of blood, corpses thrown into haphazard piles, the relentless flames surrounding them, and... Il, who lied on the snow, unconscious. His wings were torn and bald, and his atrocious injuries dyed his hair and clothing in blood. Ah! To the side, we saw him bite into Spacey's arm, ripping off her flesh. I don't know who I am. I don't know, my Miser and my Canis. It says we, but at the same time it said Miser, Rindo, and Canis were the only three there, right? And then it's we. But you said all three of us. It wasn't Miser, Canis, and I. So I'm really confused as to who we are. So I'm just reading it normal because I'm not sure who I am, so. Spacey's arm, ripping off her flesh. It was one of our fellow Enchante regulars. Our friend, or so we thought. Ignis. Our once thought-to-be ally wiped the splattered blood off his face, shooting a fearless glance in our direction. As we stood there stunned, the quickest to react to the tragic scene was Canis. Okay, so we're not Canis. Okay, there we go. That helps. The swinging of Canis's mighty sword blew Ignis back with a cannon's force. Under normal circumstances, the sheer power of Canis's attack would have torn Ignis's torso in half. But Ignis summoned a wall of flames to dull the impact of the knight's incoming strike, sparing himself from harm. Yeah, I really did miss when it flipped over like who it was. If I saw anybody, I don't remember seeing anybody. Well, anyway. Ignis moved purely on instinct. He twitched, realizing the path to his prey was obstructed, and showed his fangs. That was fun. Wake up, Ignis! Ignis kicked at the ground, lunging at a speed too fast for the naked eye. And... Spacey, freed from Ignis's grasp, fell to her knees in excruciating pain. Blood begins to gush from her wounds, which she clamps with her free hand. The blood shows no sign of stopping. I mean, he ripped a chunk out of my arm. I'm gonna have a scar. Canis... Probably not, because someone's gonna heal me with magic, but like, whatever. Canis and Ignis, meanwhile, were locked in a lightning-quick exchange of blows no human could see. Rindo's like, I do not get paid enough for this. Spacey! Ill! What's going on here? Miser and Rindo sprinted over to the two wounded members, hastily tending to their injuries. See? We keep saying we, okay, but then we're saying Miser, Rindo, and Canis. We're not a we, so I guess the narrator in this part is just including themselves. I, as the narrator, am including myself in the we, but I'm also Spacey. It's very confusing. I'm a split personality, I guess. Did I read that? I don't know. Miser and Rindo sprinted over to the two wounded members, hastily tending to their injuries. Okay. They eyed each other and rushed in. Rindo went to Spacey, and Miser went to Ill. The first cast a simple barrier to shield them from any impact from the duel. Ill, hang in there. Miser clutched Ill's blood-soaked body in his arms and cried out his name. No soft-spoken words escaped the angel's lips, and his breaths began to slow. Oh, fuck. Well, he's not gonna die, but it's still one of those, like, maybe. Meanwhile... No small amount of blood began to pour down from Spacey's slender arm. I wish my arms were slender. You know, from the elbow down maybe, but like the rest of it up, no. Spacey was succumbing to traumatic shock from the punishing magnitude of pain. And her medic, Rindo, whose brow began to sweat as the pressure mounted, hesitated, asking her to remain calm. Keep applying pressure on the wound. I'll apply some first aid. Rindo fell back into a practical solution, eyeing and ripping his handkerchief from his person to fashion a makeshift clotter. Witnessing this, Miser... Damn. I am a destroyer. I do not possess the power to ease Spacey and Ill's pains. He gently stashed away his regret and sat Ill upon the cold ground delicately. Then he switched gears, honing in on the sole mission to stop Ignis. He raised his hand. I love that he's like, I'm a destroyer, I can help people. That's Ill's job and he's gonna die. Fuck! I am chaos, not healing! Try as he might, Canis's blade could not penetrate either of Ignis's blazing fists. Well fought. Although Canis's footwork was deftly tested by the pace of Ignis's heightened beastly movements. Can't believe I could read that whole fucking sentence without tripping over any of that. Wow. Canis blocked each of his foes' punches with ease, making the tense duel an even one. In the midst of all of this... Canis, jump back as far as you can! Oh, roger that. He did as instructed and leapt back. Left open, Ignis reacted by immediately racing toward Canis, but... Whoops! Sorry. Just kidding. Once Miser barked out his command, a spell was cast, and a large shadow swelled over Ignis's head. The shadow belonged to a giant iceberg, which soon... was flung at an alarming velocity, ready to crush the body of its target upon impact. However, with the power of his attuned reflexes, Ignis ignited the flames, covering his body movements before impact. Well, okay, well, could not read that. The flames burned at a temperature so intense the whole icy meteor nearly melted, dispersing it into shattered chunks. But nevertheless, the immense impact and blast from the heavy ball of ice was felt. At last, Ignis's eyes returned to normal, indicating he had returned. Chapter 4? Final chapter? I'm just saying. No, we are still... Wow. We are still... This is the longest not final chapter, unless the final chapter goes by fast. It was loud. My head was being knocked around by some deafening explosion. Sharp bits of icicle floated down, tickling my skin. The red of my vision went away, reverting everything back to normal. I winced in a massive surge of shame. It occurred to me that I had no idea where I'd been in the last couple hours. What was I doing? Where was I? Huh? What happened? What was I doing this whole time? Just as my vision cleared up and focus returned. Oh. Ignis, you're back to normal. Canis was the first to pop into my vision. Canis, why are you pointing that sword at me? My breath left me as tall flames burned behind Canis, and the smell of smoke stung my nose. Huh? Don't tell me... I refused to believe it. My throat tensed up. I couldn't speak. I looked around. He's like, did I do this?
Oops, did I do that?
Bodies of my kin and the corpses of the minotaurs were stacked atop each other. They're all like ganged up on him. Wow, this is intense. Right in front of me, the tip of Canis' sword was pointed, shaky and cautious. Miser and Rindo seemed guarded too. I mean, Miser is sexy as fuck when he's got his guard up. It's scary, pointy claws of his, but like, just there's just something about that smokiness coming out of his eye that's like, and then the weird black and purple smoky flame things coming off. I don't know what it is. I just like it. Okay, look, I love him. It's fine. Laying next to Miser's feet, and I saw Il, mangled and torn up, covered in blood, and the one Rindo held in his arms was Spacey. Spacey clenched the patched up spot in her arm, and her face filled with terror. As soon as our eyes met, I reflexively gulped down something that was still in my mouth. Huh? What was that? What did I just swallow? Why did it smell and taste of iron?
Come on, you know exactly what it is. You know it's not healthy to be so delusional, don't you, bro?
A pair of feet tap danced lightly around the massacred ground, approaching me.
But man, talk about a view. How nice.
Dromi arrived, and unlike how Spacey looked at me fearfully.
And this is what war looks like. What it truly means to be a beast. I knew it. Everything from that day is as real as I remember.
Dromi's eyes glowed with intense awe, dumbstruck as the flames towered behind my bloody body. I watched Dromi for a minute, then toss him a throwaway question. Dromi, are you the one behind all this? The Minotaurs in the human world? All the bloodshed that happens every time I set foot back in godforsaken Bestia? You're the one pulling the strings here, just so that I'd break out on a rampage?
Yes, sir! Exactamundo. I knew you had some brains up there, bro. But man, I thought these humans were just pests. Turns out they got some use to them. It would have taken us ages if all you had to do...
If all you had to smell... Oh.
It would have taken us ages if all you had to smell and bathe yourself in was beast blood.
Hearing the word blood, Spacey's body jolted.
Anyway, we're getting off track. Time to wake up! Listen, bro, you beat the living crap out of those nice cafe regulars, and in the end, You feasted on that girl's arm. Not to mention the Minotaurs, too. Seems like you really enjoy devouring them, don't you?
He accused me with a deranged smile, not Ignis. We are Ignis.
His ridiculous claim, it seemed, was the answer we were looking for all along. Devouring? A beast that eats. Stashed by the threatening veil of my ability to rampage was another, more terrifying ability which I alone had. After all, the Minotaurs had to drug themselves just to make an attempt on my life. The truth was, no one knew why the firewolves disappeared all those years ago, but the cost of learning all this was just too great. Damn you! What's wrong with you? Fueled by nothing more than rage, I swung my fist at Dromi, but whoa! Despite how many swipes I took at Dromi, he evaded each blow by a hair. But they weren't perfect dodges. I managed to yank his favorite bandana with my fist and it glided to the ground. Something weird happened. It was as if Dromi's expression changed at the drop of his bandana. At last, my dream come true. That snively persona you have, the tame pushover regular at Enchante, is fake. This is your true form. Catastrophe. A cannibalistic monster. That's who you are. Cannibalistic monster. The words hit me in the gut. It's time I accepted my destiny. It caused the destruction of this place. I dropped to my knees. The crimson-stained snow. The sobering stench of charred iron. Think of all those who fester inside me. I tried my best to purge my body of it all, but I couldn't. Despair. Loss. Rage. These emotions are shoved down my throat, ready to burst on a whim.
Shoved down your throat along with a chunk of my arm. I'm just saying. God, it's kind of horrifying. I can't scream really loud.
They roar so loud the heavens quake. There to make a mockery of it all is, of course. Come on, this pathetic wasteland's ready to blow. Your time has come, Ignis Carbunculus. Or should I say, the Reborn. The World Devourer. Doom Incarnate. Vanar. The heretic of Doom had resurrected in fire.
Okay, so Dromi was the one. So he saw Dromi, or the shadowy figure. Vanar. So we're finally in chapter fucking 4. Like, Jesus. Thousands of years ago, a great calamity ravaged all of Beastia. We might be in Ignis' perspective. I don't know who we are, but this is the past, so. One day, in a frozen place where ferocious beasts lived, suddenly out of nowhere, pesky beings called humans began to appear. We just fuck up everything, don't we? Most of them perished from the unforgiving climate, or were helpless to the demonic beasts, but a slim portion survived. However, back then in Beastia, before the land was sealed by snow and ice, further into the distant past, there existed an enormous flaming wolf who was larger than any mountain. They called him the World Devourer, Vanar. In those days, Vanar was fabled to be a lord among beasts, capable of devouring the world. To stave off demise from his insatiable appetite, the beast was put into a deep and indefinite hibernation. But sadly, a bunch of humans came and woke the big monster up. There you go, that's Koroto's story. As a result... we woke... humans. So we woke him up and then he ate us! Rude. The awakened Vanar went on a massive rampage to fill his empty belly. Is it weird that the tree eats fairies and things, and like Ignis is the firewolf that eats things? There's a lot of eating analogies in this. So like, is it because we own a cafe that they decided that everything had to be something about something that likes to eat things? I'm just saying. There's a theme going on here. Neither human nor beast stood a chance. Anyone who got in the big bad wolf's way was devoured without warning. In particular, Vinar developed a taste for human flesh. He loved it so much he couldn't get enough. At least, for a little while. Sadly for the big bad wolf, humans with their superior brains formed an alliance with the tribe of beasts. While they paid an immense sacrifice, they managed to subjugate Vinar. Humans with their big brains, but weak, frail little bodies. However, Vinar passed his legacy, his vicious, fiery appetite, to his descendants. These people became known as the Venator, wolves with the blood of the heretic of doom. Naturally, fearing another incident, the beasts tried to exterminate the Venator, but the Venator only need blood to rampage. Thus, the beasts could not stop them. With little choice, they were chased off to remote lands with another clan, the Tigress, as their guardians. Eventually, these people would die out. Weaklings, stranded helplessly, awaiting their own deaths. All this because of Vinar. This is what instilled the survival of the fittest culture, the predetermined will to wage war at the heart of Bestia. Then, after several thousand years, in other words, the present day, as time passed, so too did the memory. The incident was long since forgotten. The Venator were thin in numbers from persecution. Bestia's lands were reduced to a battleground where the strong always conquered the weak, and it remains so to this day. Fighting, killing, and spilling blood. Oh, there we go, that terrifying CG again. That's what woke up the walking disaster, with the blood of Vinar running through his veins. Ignis. Nobody, not a single person, knew the truth. And that's that. I'm assuming maybe Jerome was saying that because it's running through his veins, and running is not like a normal, you would say running. Unless that was, you know what I mean? And we're somehow back home. Okay. Cute. That fateful day never left me. Jerome's teaser of a story about the history of Vinar just wouldn't leave my head. So that was supposed to be Jerome telling it, I guess, but whatever. Vinar, an ancestor of Venator like Ignis that nearly destroyed the world before through predation. A gigantic life-devouring wolf that craved all forms of life. Afterwards, the werecat put up no resistance and was apprehended by Canis easily. They sent him to the GPM. Ow. Each time I revisited the memory, the gash on my arm, wrapped under several layers of thick bandages, ached in immense pain. Really? No one's got healing powers? Several days had passed. How's Ill doing? After we somehow managed to return home, I was immediately taken to a hospital. Over the course of days, my wound was treated. Fortunately, the injury hadn't damaged any of the nerves, but there was no ignoring the big hole in my arm, all thanks to his fangs. Although I got to avoid surgery, the scar would stay with me my whole life, at least according to the doctors. Yeah, wow. I mean, like, that makes more sense than like, oh, magic, and then we healed it perfectly. It's like the reality if there's a scar. But there was someone in far worse condition than me, an angel marred by heavy injuries. Like, poor Ill, is he going to be okay? Ill had been in a coma the whole time, resting in his bed in an empty room at Enchante. He hadn't awoken once. And, oh no, after Ignis had lost control, doing something which could never be undone, Miser and the others placed a barrier over the shrine, along with the history of Vinar, and sealed him away. You just sealed Ignis in a cave? What? How is this like the good ending? He made no effort to resist. He hung his head low, a husk of himself. That feels like that would be the bad ending. This is extremely bizarre. Everyone had gathered at the cafe, recounting the sequence of events to one another. Naturally, the conversation was a solemn one, and even Karya, who wasn't there, became pale. Here's the thing, like, in reality, this is how it would go, and you would just pine away forever. because you loved him and move on to someone else someday, but it would always hurt in your heart because I loved him and he's stuck in an ice cave somewhere in a cold winter wonderland. Like, you know what I mean? That's not the way this is gonna end. But now that she's out of treatment, we finally have the chance to sit and talk everything over. Not that it changes anything, of course. Indeed, any updates as to how Il is doing? Miser shakes his head back and forth quietly, having watched the angel from the morning until the time we were gathered. He's in rough shape. The wounds close, then they open right back up, over and over. I have no clue when it'll come to. What? Il's wounds were supposed to heal as soon as we returned to the human world. He mentioned as much to me in Bestia. Miser picks up on my disappointment and continues in a hushed tone of voice. And normally he would heal up and be ready to fly at a moment's notice, but his wounds are too severe. And combined with the fatigue of that earlier trip, his body hasn't had much of a break. I suppose in human terms, his body hasn't much gas left in the tank. Honestly, there's no telling how much worse it'll get. No way. That is enough to indicate the state of Ignis's mind when he went on his rampage. If at the time you, Spacey, had not shielded him, Il would already...
He would have been eaten by Ignis, just like the other beasts. Is that what you're saying?
My shoulders tremble at a reflex.
Simply put, what we thought were nothing more than rampages from Ignis have proven to be something much, much more serious. A devourer of worlds? If he's a descendant of Vinar, we're talking ancestral instincts.
Yeah, it was probably through atavism?
Atavism refers to a genetic inheritance and appearance of traits held by ancestors after skipping many generations. Atavism can also refer to ancestor reversion. Hey, like Karya, that's a theme too. So there's a theme about things getting eaten by other things, so like a tree eating us, or like Ignis eating us, and ancestral reversion. Okay. Alright. Now we know what to look forward to and everything else. And if that and side characters backstabbing you. So like, one, if that doesn't hold up throughout the entire rest of the game, I'm going to be disappointed because you had a theme and you didn't stick with it. But at the same time, if it does, it's going to be like, well, I mean, you kind of ruin every other fucking route, don't you? Because you already know what's going to happen in all of them, basically. Like,
he inherited his incredible raw power because the Vinar blood flows in his veins. He's the only Vinitar who can eat. Well, yeah, but he's also the only Vinitar anyway, because the rest of them are dead, so... Do we need to point that out? No? Okay, never mind. I'll shut up. And to awaken that instinct, Dromi pulled the strings from the shadows. Ergo...
That little...
The moment his name is mentioned, Karya clenched his fists in frustration. Good boy, Karya. He sure fooled us. His smarmy and jokey face was all a big front. Dromi was almost too eager to help us all, all the while leaking info to the Minotaur and the other beasts. By getting him to fight more beasts, he triggered Ignis's hunger by constantly exposing him to the Son of Blood. He only spoke of the danger of Vinar to the Minotaur, while conveniently failing to mention just how to awaken the instinct. Predation instinct, the true danger held by Ignis. Smelling the scent of blood takes him a step closer to turning into Vinar. Beasts have little mercy for the weak, not to mention species different from their own, but they look after their own. They were likely acting to protect their children and mates and tried to kill Ignis without giving him much thought. One thing explained why the Minotaur had behaved in such a reckless way. Turns out Mikado had already uncovered the thing eating away at their sanity. It was a drug, the origins of which were unknown. Earth, come on. Look. Traces of it were found administered to the Minotaur. It warped non-human minds. The culprit was, almost undeniably, Dromi. Dromi, too. He's actually a fanatic of calamity, trying to return Ignis to Vinar through predation. His clownish, small fry behavior was all an act. Fucking punk. Although, I appreciate it, because, like, he came in and he's like, oh, bro, no! And you're like, I kind of hate you, you're a pain in my fucking ass. And he's the asshole, like, psych, and you're like, no, okay, I like it. I hate you. I, like, didn't like you to begin with. It was like, oh, okay, Dromi, like, alright, fine, we'll tolerate. But you kind of just were irritated by him. And then you became a psychopath, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I don't feel bad hating you. Like, I feel really bad, like, Minia, why? I loved you, and why'd you throw me into a tree? Like, fuck you. Look at me and suffer for the rest of eternity. But I still love him. But, like, he was being a bitch, right? And, like, Mikado's probably going to backstab us in Rindo's route, but, like, I'm still going to be like, you know, he's an asshole, but I kind of love the pain in the ass. He's the pain in the ass side character that I like. Dromy's the pain in the ass side character that you're like, why are you here? Go away. So I don't feel bad about this at all. Which also means the person who flung me into the gate to Bestial had to be him as well. Told you. The forgotten item at the time was an outright lie. My guess is that he passed through the GPM's wormhole and slipped into Enchante through the gate. From there, he did his deed, hoping to kill me and make it look like an accident.
Damn it! That puny... What did he even want?
I have a guess concerning his objective. He said as much himself.
Come on! This pathetic wasteland is ready to blow! Your time has come, Ignis Carbunculus! Or should I say, the Reborn? The World Devourer, Doom Incarnate, Vanar!
Dromy's goal was likely to return Ignis to his ancestor. In other words, to resurrect Vanar. But, like, why? But why, exactly? Although I did little more than squeak weakly, I might add, I finally managed to join the conversation. What's the meaning of it all? 42. Yeah, Dromy's not that dumb. Every beast and beastie would be devoured, him included. And frankly, it's a lose-lose situation. Out of consideration for me, Miser picked up where I left off, helping me make my point. While we're on the subject, Rindo, has Dromy ever confessed to anything? Come on. When we interrogated him, he carried on like it was no big deal. All smiles. The event had been clearly upsetting Rindo. We'll continue to interrogate him, but I can't promise we'll extract anything worth bringing up. Let Miser go in, because when he starts to turn into a demon and, like, that black mist starts falling off, it's a little intimidating, and I bet he could scare him into it. See, Miser seems like, oh, like, what? Just so charming and unassuming, and I will fucking end you. Oh! Hi, what? Okay! You know, we like that. You know, it's the expected Saint Germain appeal. Like, Saint Germain appeal is the unexpected. Like, oh, he's so unassuming. Oh my god, what the hell is happening? You know, like, if Miser didn't have his eyes open, you'd be like, oh, shit's gonna go down when he opens his eye. That's how it works. A character with their eyes closed all the time. Oh god, that's so that you can't see the evil that resides in them, and they're gonna kill us. And then they open their eyes, and it's like in the Neverending Story, The Gates. You should watch the Neverending Story. I feel like this is now the 15th time we've referenced it. Oh, second. This game, but it is. It's like he's going through the gates, and then, okay, I gotta go through the Sphinx gates, right? And then they start to slowly open their eyes, and you're like, shit, I'm gonna get laser beamed! That's basically fucking Otome characters when their eyes are closed. You're like, okay, I can manage! And then they open their eyes, and you're like, fuck, we're dead! But so, like, Miser's kind of like that, but he seems so unassuming, and when you're like, oh, wait, I mean, he's a demon lord, so obviously he's got some tricks up his sleeve, but... And we know this. You're like, you know that you could just probably blink me into non-existence, but he just seems so non-assuming and nonchalant, just so, like, soft. You know he's not, so, like, I'm just saying, send him in there. It'll be great. Anyway. We don't have a Saint Germain character where, like, the eyes are closed all the time, but, like, Miser, if you go in there with your eyes closed, chilling out, and then look at him, all hell's gonna... He'll tell you. I'm just saying. Anyway. Hey! So that's it then? What does that mean for Ignis? Don't tell me Dromy is getting everything he wanted. Is he gonna become Vanar? In the past, Karya's stubbornness was known to clash with Ignis's, so the two rarely saw eye to eye, but the situation felt so dire, even Karya expressed his concern for Ignis. As for Karya's question... Oh... They're like, Miser's face is like, yeah. Rindo's like, I don't know how to answer these tough questions. Talk to your mother. And we have no fucking idea what Candace is thinking. Candace is like asleep. We don't know he doesn't have a face. The adults in the room, Miser and company, shifted in their seats. With this incident, Ignis not only preyed upon his kin, but he murdered them in cold blood. And now he's got a taste for human flesh, too. He didn't murder his kin in cold blood, though. They were already dead. It's like, you're making a false assumption here. He's more or less fulfilled all the requirements to awaken as Vanar. Yes, at this rate, Ignis will... No way! Karia was incensed, frustrated by the situation Ignis was left in. I, on the other hand, could hardly utter an opinion of my own. I needed to say something. Think. But despite my best efforts... Regardless, there must be something we can do on Ignis's behalf. We must look at all options at our disposal. However, Spacey, perhaps it is better for you to rest in your room in the meantime. Huh? That wound on your arm is not healed, and not to mention the emotional wounds. A means your heart. If listening to us talk about Ignis's fate is painful, or even worrisome, then no, you don't have to force yourself. We'll handle what to do from here. An owner can't tend to her shop without adequate rest. As I feared, they read my mood on my face. Whenever Ignis's name came up in conversation, my body trembled. Karia looked back at me. His eyes traveled between my eyes and my arm, inferring enough to form an opinion. I knew there was more to it, though. I noticed they avoided talking about actual details, nothing about what really happened. It was true, my presence here was an obstacle to the more pertinent conversation at hand. Yeah, thanks. So I thanked them for their responses, apologizing for taking up their time. I bowed my head and headed up to my room. As soon as the door shut behind me, I plopped onto my bed and took Kororo in my arms. Cute! He can never go back to the Beast World. How is he going to get back there? No one's there to take him. We'll have to hand him off to Rindo to take him to the GPM. Not out of sadness, but fear. Ignis, each time I heard his name, each something reminded me of him. The fear of being devoured possessed me, and I trembled. Until that tragedy, I cherished him. I never once felt intimidated by him. I wanted for us to be together. All it takes is, one, moment of abuse, and they're out. I'm sorry. In all honesty, you should just be like, I am glad he's not in my life because he's abusive. Literally, he turns into a monster. But we're gonna be like, it's okay. It's really not. I mean, in this, it's he didn't know what he was doing, and I will forgive him, whatever. But in reality, it's really not okay. It's really not. Who else do you know actually, seriously, this is beyond abuse that he ripped a chunk out of your arm, all I'm saying. Crying here into my pillow would do nothing. That much I knew, but... Yeah, but sometimes you need to cry. Crying into your pillow will do something. It will get rid of that pain and that horrible muckiness in your heart. It's okay to fucking cry. It'll do nothing to cry. Yes, it will! It's cathartic. You need to do it sometimes. Shut up. Why? Why did this have to happen, Ignis? Cute? Fear pulled tears from me like a conductor. All I could do was cry out in grief, to mourn the injustice of it all. Afterward, according to Miser, who had stopped by my room to brief me on the rest of their talk, they agreed they needed to strengthen the barrier that encased the shrine, plus Ignis. To do that, however, Miser and the others had to find some way to heal ill in his current state. If we could so much as take him up to the heavenly world, he would heal just fine. But fallen angels weren't exactly welcome. Normal angels hunt fallen angels for sport, and it wasn't worth the risk on Ill's life. But it was good enough as a last resort. In the meantime, the regulars searched high and low for ways to improve his condition. As for Rindo, he was given the sole pleasure of interrogating Dromi. However, even if either endeavor came to something, neither did anything to help Ignis directly, to help manage his dangerous powers. Ignis Carbunculus 3. Due to atavism, he has the possibility to become the Wolf of Calamity, Vanar. Despite wishing not to kill, the scent of blood makes him go wild, and many demon beasts fall prey to his hunger. So it's kind of like, oh my god, he actually may have killed Kororo's family. Like, are we supposed to, like, wonder that? Like, obviously other beasts kill beasts, but then you're wondering, like, did he kill Kororo's family? But I feel like Kororo wouldn't have trusted him if he did. Like, he didn't trust Dromi, you know? So. I sit in this icy shrine, all banged up. I got nothing to do but hang my head and listen to my thoughts echo. After that howl of despair, that bastard Dromi had the balls to come up to my face and tell me, Vanar, ancestor of the Vinatar, he said. Then I have inherited his blood, which makes me a world-devouring monster. Apparently I'm a legendary beast reincarnate, one that makes me hungry for flesh. The idea is so repulsive I want to gag, but nothing comes out of my stomach. You don't have a stomach. Oh, I guess he does. In other words, I've already digested their flesh and blood and absorbed it all into my body. The thought sinks in. Can't help but feel disgusted by my own body, which until now I had been proud to show off as a symbol of my strength. I see. Why do they call me a monster? Goes beyond eating food for humans. I devoured my fellow beasts, people that could have been kin, while they lived and breathed. No, you didn't. They were already dead before you got there. I mean, you did kill the ones a long time ago when you were a child, but recently you didn't. Weaklings stranded helplessly, waiting their own deaths, all because of Vanar. This is what instilled the survival of the fittest culture, a predetermined will to wage war at the heart of Bestia. I mean, that was from Dromi's story, and we're probably not supposed to read it in Ignis's, like, voice, but whatever. Why is the place I call home surrendered to such cruelty? There was somebody long ago who's the root of all this bloodshed. I'll forever forsake him. And that's you. Well, it's kind of sad. Who did I think I was with my no-killing pact? Man, talk about being a hypocrite. I ran my mouth, condemning everybody on my soapbox, and I was the worst of them all. Get a load of the devourer of worlds. It's gonna be really funny when, like, Miser's like, are you talking to yourself in there? Shut up, I got nothing better to do. Every time I see the mural, I'm petrified. I know that one day that drawing will look less like a drawing, more like a mirror. Am I destined to become Vanar no matter what? No, I won't let that happen. All I have to do is avoid blood at all costs, and not to eat any. Until now, I had no real need for food, so any cravings I had were superficial, but my stomach let out a terrible growl in the darkness, a desperate, hungry cry. I bent backwards and hugged my arms around my torso. I clenched my teeth, fighting the desire. It was useless. I must eat. I bark into the darkness. I'm hungry. Times like these, the one to feed me was... Oh, Spacey. But when her face came to mind, my hunger worsens and I can't help but gulp uncontrollably. Well, that's torture. Her flesh was perfectly delicious. The monster hides in my brain. It's part of me. When I picture it, it laughs as her blood drips from my mouth. I stop breathing. No! I can't! I can't disrespect her memory by thinking of something like that. I grip my stomach and continue to suffer in denial, surrounded by darkness. But, in a way, I was too late. Oh. Spacey? Her flowing blood. I can never forget the look of fear in her eyes as they burned into mine. More importantly, I can't believe I attacked the person I most wanted to protect. I became a monster. I devoured part of her body. As if that wasn't bad enough, I hurt one of her most favorite guests ill. Hell, I tried to eat him! Yeah, that's kind of fucked up. Spacey trusted me when no one else would. She vouched for me. She really believed I'd be worth it. It was all for nothing. I gave in to my wretched hunger. I betrayed her. I'm sure I'd never get to see that smile of hers glow again. If that's the case, it'd be better for me to just kill myself. I kicked the idea for a bit in my head, till I decided to use my own fists to do the deed. Are you gonna literally punch yourself to death? And as soon as I placed it over my heart, to rip it out of my chest, I'm dominated by another feeling. A rabid, beastly hunger. One that chips away at me until I satisfy its craving. Damn it! Oh, come on, man! I'm not allowed to die either! Nobody in their right mind would want a monstrosity like me to go on living. Nobody in their right mind. But us. That's supposed to be us. See, the game keeps taking digs at us. Game is like, ha ha ha, you play Atome games, you loser. Rude. Ha ha ha, you're old. Rude. Ha ha ha, you're not in your right mind because you want Ignis to live. The fuck? In a remote territory stir the omens of an awakened calamity, a promise from fate about a tragic, bloody unrest. Yet out in a nearby desolate ice field, the calamity was a mere passing thought. A small tribe of nomadic beasts struggled to survive in the harsh desert. A young beast with lanky arms patrolled the outskirts of the village, and he turned at the sudden sound of footsteps. He lowered his body, assuming an offensive stance, expecting to see a band of raiders. What he saw instead were beasts even smaller than himself. They had long ears, so malnourished they could snap on contact. The young beast regarded them as no threat. He began to ponder. Were they refugees from a random attack? Have they fled here looking for safety? The boy began to pity the small creatures. However, he hesitates to call to them of his own accord. Instead, he chooses to observe them, losing himself in thought until one of their rank walks towards him, crunching snow beneath her tattered hide shoes.
Hey, you! Over there!
Huh? Me?
Is anyone else out here with you?
The girl exhaled haughtily through her nose. She was incredibly forward, stronger than her frail demeanor had suggested. The boy shot upright to maintain decorum, but he had no intention of threatening her.
We were chased out of our camp. We got nowhere to go. Would it be okay for us to start building a camp here? I promise we won't cause no trouble.
The truth was revealed. They were driven from their territory and searched for a new place to call home. So as long as they were considerate of their neighbors and caused no trouble, it was fine. They seemed awfully sincere to the boy. Survival in the Badlands was brutal. Raiders and murderers pounced on any prey too vulnerable to look after its own. But these beasts seemed different. If they continued to wander, he thought, it'd be a matter of time until they were goners. He nodded immediately. I can't make that decision. I gotta go back to my village and ask the elder.
Okay, let's go and ask.
Huh?
Go on, lead the way. We're the strangers around here after all.
His first impressions, it seemed, were off. The boy began to think that he had mistaken her lack of consideration as confidence. Regardless, as representative of his people, he led the two of them to the elder. Both of their feet trudged through the dense, knee-high snow toward the village. They shared the burden of their silence on their solemn trek, until...
Hey! Got any tips we should know about if we settle here?
He couldn't tell if she was unable to endure the silence or she was simply bored, but he humored her attempt to break the ice. He stuck out his tongue and thought. Only one thing came to mind, especially for beasts of their stature. You'll probably be fine out here. There's the Firewolf stronghold that way, but a big icy mountain keeps things in here and things in there.
Don't you think that's risky? Seems a little strange to live so close. I hope the rock keeps you all safe. You don't look like much, but maybe there's a fighter in you.
If you must know, it's because at some point we were just like you, a tribe without anywhere else to go. There's something else besides the icy mountain, something protecting us.
Protecting you?
The young girl blinked in confusion, and the boy became animated. Enthusiasm glows in his eyes. You ever heard of Ignis? He's the strongest beast in all of Beastia. It's him. He always comes to visit us. He keeps our village safe. Thanks to him, somehow, we've managed to see more days. The boy patted the top of his head, reliving when his hero patted him on the same spot all those days ago. The warmth stuck with him all this time. He found strength in the memory. Oh, we get to be Fox Boy and choose. Hold on. Ignis is really kind. He's really kind, isn't he? I mean, sure, he kind of looks scary, but a while ago, he rubbed my head. I love little Fox Boy. He's so cute. He's my favorite non-actual character. The girl watched the boy's face turn red as she scoffed and averted her gaze. Like, they don't have names. They're the nameless side characters that actually somehow have sprites, but I love him so much.
I don't get how you can admire him. He's just too soft. Haven't you heard his reputation? He's rude and brash and causes trouble wherever he goes.
Do you know him?
I know of him. Actually, we've met.
The boy guessed to himself how. It seemed likely that this young girl was saved by the very same beast, the so-called strongest in Beastia. Frail beast girl, a weak demon beast girl who found out that Ignis isn't killing like before, and is also owing her life during search of... Wait, what? Who found out that Ignis isn't killing like before. Well, like she thought. Well, okay. He is killing now, but he wasn't at the time, so okay. And is also owing her life during search of Cororo's parents. That is not even anywhere near... Okay. You get it, though. While not upfront about her feelings, she does seem to be thankful to Ignis. He saved her life while Ignis and the others were searching for Cororo's parents. Okay, during that event, but anyway. However, afraid to draw more of her ire, the boy kept quiet, expecting a rebuttal from her were he to mention his guess. Wow. The boy was sharp, and in a short time span, he managed to see her for who she was. I want to see him again. He hasn't shown up lately. Where could he be?
Now that you mention it, I haven't heard any rumors about him fighting other beasts.
True, as the girl said, the boy had noticed this too. His strength was undeniable, rendering the fear of losing him to battle to just that, a mindless fear. I can't put my finger on it exactly, but I hope Ignis is, wherever he is, okay.
Don't even worry about it. First off, if anything happened to him, all of that is his business. For weaklings like us, that's all out of our hands.
It's so cute that they're, like, worried about him. He's like, everyone hates me. They don't hate you, baby. Oh. Okay, anyway. We'll probably get our good ending in the next part. Maybe. Because this is the last chapter, so I don't know. But anyway. I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.